claims title number 3.
Max Verstappen back to the top step of a Formula One podium. Perhaps no shock in that, but what we got behind was a thrilling race here at one of the most phenomenal racing circuits in the entire world. The Japanese Grand Prix rarely disappoints, and it didn't disappoint today. A brilliant race, and we're going to go through it all now on your post-race show here from the paddock at the Suzuka International Circuit. Hello, folks. Welcome to your post-race show with me, Will Buxton, Jack Doohan, and we've been joined right at the top of the show by James Fells. Thank you so much for joining us, James, because the race itself was red flagged on the first lap after a big accident between Daniel Ricciardo and Alex Albon. So, James, first questions first. Most important thing, how's Alex doing?
Yeah, thank you for asking. He's good. Just sat with him for a little bit inside the catering facility. He's obviously mentally frustrated by what happened, but physically he's fine, and that's the most important to me, that both Daniel and him walked away. It's a big shunt. There's a lot of damage from it, but he is okay in as much as no damages to him.
It's been the most difficult couple of weeks for your team, given what happened in Australia, the fallout and the ramifications from that. Again here this weekend with the FP1 crash for Logan, taking out one set of your upgrades, and now the crash to Alex as well. I know it's probably too early to tell, but with the question marks over and that you've answered about the fact you won't have another tub until we get to Miami, do you have any idea of the damage to the tub after that crash?
We sent someone out. The car was sitting around about inside turn 5. They've taken some pictures of it. I suspect, as I'm here with you now, it will be delivered back to the front. It looks like a little bit of damage again on the front right. Complete coincidence, obviously, but let's see how bad it is when we get there. It looks like it's repairable to me, but that was through images taken. I think you've described it well. The last 2 weeks have been tough. I think take any team to have 3 major accidents where you've pretty much taken out all equipment on the car is enormous, and taking that across the season, you can deal with it. Taking it across just a few races is difficult, and the impact of it will be what you expect. We're making spares as quickly as possible in the background, but ultimately performance will have an impact on it. We can't bring as many updates, or updates that were on the car unfortunately are broken, so we've got to build those stocks back up and get going again. Oh,
just the frustration in that from your perspective, from the entire team's perspective. You worked so hard to bring upgrades to the car this early in the season, and 2 crashes have ultimately put them all in the skip for you.
Pretty much, you described it well. Hopefully we can recycle some of those bits, but no, they're pretty much gone. I think the main thing is this. One of the huge strengths of this organization is resilience. It's been through so much across the last 10 years. We're going to pick ourselves up and get going again. And what I'm encouraged by is Logan in that race was fighting forward against other competitors around him, same age tires, and overtaking them. And that just gives me encouragement that the race package we have isn't bad. We weren't there in Melbourne, but here we were there or thereabouts, and it's incredibly tight. All the way from basically RB Visa from us to Alpine. There's nothing between those teams, and the encouragement I take is that we're going to pick ourselves back up, come to China, and come back swinging.
Logan, a bit of an off at the end. Was that just indicative of how hard he was pushing?
Pretty much. I think he was, all of the drivers were pretty much right on the edge there. It's just a tiny, tiny lot going into 8, I think it was, and put him off track there. Fortunately able just to grab reverse and get the car back out. No damage I could immediately see.
Wonderful stuff. Well, we look forward to China. We hope you have 2 cars on the track for that. But thank you for your time, James. Hopes it gets a bit easier for you.
Thanks very much.
Thanks so much. Big thanks to James for giving us his time and such a wonderful explanation of what happened there. Jack, towards the end, we spoke about it a little bit. That lock-up for Logan at the end, as James said, just pushing on, you know, trying to get those laps in at the end, trying to push forward. Just everybody really on the edge today, but a big moment for him, and then obviously trying to pull that back on track.
Yeah, it's quite difficult. We saw a lot of lockups throughout the stage of that race, you know, not only from your Williams, but also from Lando into turn 11. We saw Carlos locking up into the last chicane. Everyone was on the limit, really trying to extend the life of those tyres and go as far as they could. And it's a place where into turn 9, Degner 2, there's just no room for error. We saw Charles almost go off track there as well, the lap before he boxed onto that second set. And Logan, unfortunately, just catching the lock at a little bit earlier. And once you lock, the track falls away a little bit as you get to the apex there too. So there's no chance of getting that right inside tyre back on the ground, which inevitably means no rotation and a quick trip to the gravel.
The race, of course, was red flagged on that first lap, about a half-hour delay until it got running properly. That first lap incident, it's so tight. I mean, for folks back at home, this isn't your normal kind of race circuit. It's very, very narrow, and trying to send 20 F1 cars through that tight and twisting section, and the slightest of touches between the two of them.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. Lap 1, no one ever wants to go out, and the stoppage was, we don't typically see crashes in that part of the circuit. You know, it's not typically somewhere where we're potentially going side by side to the mid corner, or especially losing the car that early on. So it's a shame, obviously, for the red flag. However, Daniel maybe thought that he had Lance just pulling up slightly on his left, Albon on his right, opens up the corners, you know, half a meter too wide, and the clip's done. You know, right rear puncture sends him into the barrier. Alex off track. There's only about, 15, 20 meters or more of runoff before you're into the wall. So, yeah, a huge unfortunate chain of events.
Yeah, very unfortunate chain of events. We can hear from both drivers involved in that incident, Daniel Ricciardo and Alex Albon.
Hey Daniel, we saw it was a bit of a squeeze in the run up to turn 3. Just talk me through your view of what happened as everyone kind of concertinaed.
Yeah, I think it was, they definitely kind of concentrated behind us. Everyone who started on the soft, well, at least the cars in front on the medium looked a fair okay, but yeah, myself and Yuki had a pretty poor getaway on the medium, and all the cars behind on the soft just, got us quite easily, and we were just kind of scrabbling, obviously, for some grip. And by turn 2, it settled a little bit, but then I remember getting out of 2 quite still with a little bit of lack of traction, and I remember an Aston on my left. So I was kind of watching that car, and then as I was starting to drift to open up 3, I felt Alex. So I think, I saw his onboard, and he just had so much better drive out of 2. I don't even know if he wanted to be there, but you could see me kind of going a little bit sideways, and I think as you probably said, just everyone kind of got choked up, and that was that. So unfortunately a short Sunday.
What's your kind of overriding emotion from this weekend? There was kind of a little bit of a peak yesterday. It felt like you were making progress. We didn't get to see what you've kind of done with the car today. So how do you feel right now?
I mean, a lap 1 incident is definitely like the worst thing as a driver, because after yesterday, as you said, we were feeling all right last night and excited for a good day today, and it kind of all fell away straight away, obviously on the start, and then the incident. So there's like this massive build up, and then you feel like I now got all this energy that I don't really know what to do with. So it's obviously racing. It happens every now and then, which is part of it. I think, just trying to watch Yuki's race, see what we can learn from that. And I test here on Tuesday, so I'll get the laps back that I lost today.
All right, hard luck, Daniel. Thank you.
You.
Hey, Alex, obviously frustrating to see you not make many corners in this Grand Prix. Just talk me through how you saw that opening sequence.
Not too much really. I think had not a great start, but obviously a bit better than the medium tyres, and had good traction coming up turn 2. That was it really. Just I don't think Daniel saw me, and then it was just a bit of a pinching moment, so I tried to back out a bit, but couldn't quite get out the way quick enough. So it was a tough one to take. Obviously we're not in a great position as a team with parts and just general damage for the car, so very frustrating, and obviously just disappointing. We need to bounce back and get ready for China.
How much damage do you think there is from the car at this stage? How big did it feel?
Honestly, it wasn't like a big crash, but the way that I hit the wall, it was a tyre wall, which we don't have that many tyre walls anymore in Formula 1, and the way the tyre went under the car and it gripped the car, so the car went from a good amount of speed to 0 really quickly. I'm just worried. I didn't get a good look at it because it's under the tyres, but hopefully it's okay.
Right, hard luck. Thank you.
Yeah, an early bath for both Alex Albon and Daniel Ricciardo. A very different set of fortunes for these two. Max Verstappen, your race winner, and Sergio Perez, a strong P2 for Red Bull today. Right, talking of disappointments, Jack, let's get this out of the way so we don't leave you hanging for the whole show. Alpine, really disappointing day for the team. I know that contact between the two early on in the race today, and from what I understand, Pierre having a huge loss of downforce, but a difficult day
Yeah, unfortunate. Both suffering from points of downforce loss, and then it just unfortunately affected the whole race. Starting from there. However, we had a stronger qualifying. Steps forward in that department. The race, it was never going to be easy. We just made it a little bit more difficult for ourselves, but we're taking the positives. That's all we can do at the moment. As well, we had a great range of pit stops. The boys and all the mechanics, everyone, boys and girls, were working really hard on that department, and we executed them all really well. So you got to take the wins, and we're looking forward to Shanghai and to come back stronger.
And you brought your first set of upgrades here this weekend, a new front wing being the sort of the headline part of that team. Happy with responses from the drivers on those?
I think, yeah, we saw glimpses of it. It's still very, very early days. There's pluses and minuses like everything, but hopefully a small step in the right direction, and we're just going to, like I said, keep going forward.
At this point in the day, difficult day also for Sauber. Zhou Guanyu ultimately with what we believe is a gearbox issue for him. Certainly, I walked up there during the race and the garage area absolutely stank of gearbox oil, so I'm guessing that's what the problem was. Valtteri Bottas today, at one point, looked like he was massively in the hunt for points, was ahead of Tsunoda, who got that last point in P10. But we got 5 cars into the pits at once, a jumbling up of the order, and from that point on, his race kind of tailed off.
Yeah, it didn't seem like they were so strong at the end there. That pit stop was hectic. I think we saw 5 cars almost like fighting for position in a single lane pit stop. I thought the same as you. Unfortunate very much for Zhou. Gearbox issue. Smelt that very early on when he was coming into the pits for quite a few times. But yeah, a shame because I think maybe that they had a little bit more potential, but clearly just dying off. I don't know if it was when the track temp, as we saw over the course of the race, was just dropping and the car slightly going away from its working window. Opposite to what we saw from the both Red Bulls.
What sparked the first set of pit stops that had actually put Valtteri Bottas into that really prime position to fight for points, bizarrely enough, was actually the terrible start that Nico Hülkenberg got in the Haas. That second start, he was sitting inside the points, P10, car bogged down, he dropped all the way down. You see him there just falling all the way down to last place. Haas decided to bring him in, take him off the soft tyres he was on, slam him on the hard tyres. And Jack, I've got to say, those early laps for Nico Hülkenberg on those hard tyres, for me, that's what made RB jump in with Yuki. It's what made Sauber jump in with Valtteri Bottas, because they could see the pace on those hard tyres. And at that point, we were scratching our heads thinking, well, how long is everyone else going to stay out on the soft? Who's going to jump onto these hards? Because the early laps on the hard tyre were so good. And ultimately, that strategy from Haas brought Nico Hülkenberg all the way back through to a P11 finish, so nearly points for them again.
So nearly, but so far.
Yeah.
But yes, you're starting on the soft tyre on that restart, and you want to have a good start. You're having that hope for the traction, gain a couple meters, and hopefully, you go further up into the points, and he got exactly the opposite.
Yeah.
It clearly wasn't a wheel spin issue. Something happened and gone to the back of the field, but I was surprised, just as you, on how quickly he was back, to the front, or not to the front of that midfield after those pit stops came about. He didn't seem to lose anything really from that.
There is a massive amount of people and noise behind us, which can mean only one thing here in Japan, and it's the fact that Yuki Tsunoda is with us. What a drive, dude. What a drive. Getting selfies all over the place. Yuki, P10 points at home in such a tightly congested midfield. What does that mean for you? What does that mean for the team?
Yeah, very special, even P10, I feel like, probably it's two big things to say, but I feel like I scored P1, but at the same time, yeah, big credit to the team that the team able to have a map, like very fast pit stop and able to rejoin to the track in front of Aston's, and without that work, I wouldn't able to score points today. So big credit to the team, and obviously also the Japanese fans who support me all the week this week, and amount of energy I got every lap from them was definitely a special feeling.
It was a very long race. It felt like not the start that I think you and Daniel would have both liked, losing a row, and then the first half of the race seeming like it potentially, from my point of view, wasn't going so to plan, but then to come back, rescue it, get the P10. How was it from your point of view?
Yeah, we struggled at the start, the first start. We were wearing medium, and the 2 cars behind, Haas and Stake was wearing soft, so probably there was advantage for soft, and I lost the position. I was a bit disappointed, but at the same time, I able to regain that 2 position at the restart after I wore the soft. So I think I did very well there, and regained there at the start, and yeah, after that, just the pace was good, you know, just feeling comfortable. And obviously I lost a bit of position at the pit stop, I would say, in the first pit stop. But after that, still the pace was good, and in the end, the team did a like superhero job, you know, like I feel like Supermans were doing pit stop, you know, like that was crazy. And yeah, I was very happy.
Yuki, we've got to let you go, but before we do, those moves around the outside through the S's, just where did they come from, man? They were amazing.
Yeah, I knew that we're not amazing in the straight line speed this week. Only place that we're quite good compared to other competitors compared to top midfield was the first sector. And I just had a pretty good confidence that I was able to overtake outside, and yeah, it was speed, wasn't it? I think
smashed it.
Yeah, it's good.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it's good. It reminds me like when Kamui was doing overtaking outside turn 11.
Should be very proud of the performance today, man.
So,
it was amazing.
Thank you.
We've got to let you go. I'm so sorry.
Thanks,
he's very much in demand today, Yuki Tsunoda. Great job, man. Great job. Yuki off for a million other interviews today. Great to have him on the show. Lance Stroll, just outside the points in P12. Not very happy with his car today. We'll talk Aston Martin in a little bit. Kevin Magnussen, P13. Again, had quite a strong race and was in that fight for the points, but Hülkenberg on the fresh tyres coming through at the end. Jack, shall we discuss Mercedes at this
dive into it.
Let's dive into it. What did you make of the race they ran today, the strategy they employed? George Russell, obviously, with the pace at the end for the P7. Lewis Hamilton down in P9.
You know, it's a replication of qualifying. No pluses, no minuses, really. I think it was looking quite strong in the middle of the race there, especially I think they were trying to extend. I was thinking that they were going to go for longer on that medium tyre, but it just didn't seem like potentially Lewis was complaining very, very early on. I think 9 laps in, he was on the hard tyre, complaining that the front was dead. You know, even willing to let George pass before they'd even offered, unless we didn't hear something earlier on the radio. So very not happy with the car. George seeming to be more comfortable. And then they just gradually seemed to fall back. Every time after the pit stop, it was just, the pace was dropping and dropping and dropping. So I'm sure, you know, if I was in their position, not happy at all. Maybe there's something that they can see from the inside, because the drivers were quite low on the radio. I didn't hear a lot of complaining, a lot of at fault, apart from Lewis, you know, being very assertive that his front right was dead a couple of times.
We have to let you go, Jack. We've got to go and take a plane back home to Australia. But before we do, anything else you want to talk about? What was your, let's say, who was your driver of the day?
My driver of the day, I think Carlos.
Yeah, he had a great one, didn't he?
He had a great one again. You know, the Ferrari, we knew, wasn't the strongest it's been here, and he rescued a podium. Yesterday, you know, P4, very early on, you could see that Lando was struggling, and even at the end there, he had to rescue a lot to come back to that podium. Obviously on the fresher tyres, but he made good, decisive moves, made it when it counted, put others under pressure, and came back to P3. And then we were just speaking before as well, only 5 points away from his teammate, and in P3, and missing one round. So
yeah,
that's
amazing, isn't
spectacular.
It? Incredible stuff.
Thank
Jack,
you so much.
as always, a real pleasure, mate. Thank you very much. Always a real pleasure to have you on our shows. We appreciate it more than you know. Thanks, man.
Cheers.
Safe travels back to Australia. We will see Jack in China. And for now, though, Ariana Bravo has caught up with Toto Wolff.
Toto, so P7 and P9, could you just talk us through how you're feeling immediately after that one?
Well, we had an atrocious first stint, which we need to analyze why. Very good second and third stint. And that is the positive that we take from the race. It is live testing now for us. We've been on the back foot, and besides our shoes for 2 seasons, and now we've taken a different direction, and I think this is happening.
You mentioned there is live testing. Do you feel like you have been able to get a better understanding of the car across this weekend?
Much better. Yeah, definitely much better. Lots more data that point us in the right direction, even if it's not reflected in the result.
Well, it was definitely reflected in Lewis's attitude across the weekend. He was sounding very positive every time I spoke to him. But what is the next step now between now and China?
I think I can't wait to go racing in Shanghai. We just need to have a better start of the weekend. Some of the proof of concept that we've done here, we will be on the car, and then see what we can do in Shanghai.
And you mentioned for this weekend, part of the reason you wanted to be here is because the team were experimenting with different things. How have those experiments gone? Are you feeling more optimistic looking ahead then?
Yes, they've gone much better. The experiments have worked. I think what I said, we have a clear direction, even though the qualifying and race result doesn't reflect it at all. you know, we've aimed for a one stop, and then we found out it wasn't possible. We've probably overmanaged the tires, but the moment we have, you know, picked up the speed on the similar stint lengths like the others, we were competitive.
Fantastic. Well, we look forward to seeing how you go in Shanghai. Thank you very much, Toto.
A big thanks to Ariana and Toto Wolff there. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Alex Shakes.
Hello, Will Buxton.
Did you enjoy that one?
I did enjoy that. There was a lot going on throughout. Once we decided things out front,
yes.
And I think from the start, it looked like Max was, once he got that second start nailed, goodbye to him. We knew that Checo was just feeling more confident this weekend, proved it out on track. And I loved his comment afterwards, where he was like, oh, I tell you what, if it's working here.
Yeah.
So that was nice to see him back in a confident place. And then just constant moves, constant strategy, constant actions throughout. I always enjoy them. Like, sometimes I have to, I come off and I'm like, well, that was fun, because it was fun. It was a Formula One race in Japan. But no, I did enjoy that.
Yeah, we loved it. It was a great race, mate. Great call. We just heard from Toto Wolff. You may have caught the tail end of that. He said it's now live testing for us every weekend. This new philosophy of car we've made inroads this year. This weekend, we've definitely got a better feeling with the car. But I mean, it's flip positions on where they start. It's still a P7, P9 for Mercedes, but P7, P9 for Mercedes is not where they expect to be.
It's not anywhere near what we've come to expect from them. But they've got to dig themselves out of trouble. The only way they're going to dig themselves out of trouble is trying something slightly different, not going with the traditional setup, testing the parameters. So that means a few more races pain. But the one thing for them, look at McLaren last year. Once you understand where to go, you can make massive progress, even if it's going to take a couple of races into the season.
Great unintentional segue, because we're about to hear from Oscar Piastri.
Hey, Oscar, it looked like a pretty busy day out there for you out on track. How did you feel with the result at the end of the day?
Yeah, busy race. Obviously, you know, not fighting for the positions that we wanted to be in, but yeah, just struggled, I think. On my side, it's not been the best of weekends. I think also as a team, we struggled a bit more today than we expected to as well. So, yeah, a lot of reflection and things to try and get on top of next time. But yeah, that was not the afternoon we were looking for.
Really tight battle with the guy next to you, George, at the chicane. What's your kind of read of how that all went down?
I mean, yeah, it was pretty hard racing, of course. Yeah, a bit of wheel banging in the end. He got in front anyway, so yeah, tried my best, but yeah, anyway.
All right, see you on the next one. Thanks.
Thank you.
At one point, it was looking like Oscar Piastri was going to be up after Alonso and maybe bring home the McLaren's line astern. So it was going to be 2 Red Bulls, 2 Ferraris, 2 McLarens. As it was, Fernando played the wily game, backed him up into George Russell. A great fight at the end, but ultimately, perhaps just a small mistake from Oscar. I thought I saw a puff of smoke down at that chicane, which allowed George onto the back of him.
He'd driven really well to get himself into that position. The problem is Fernando Alonso has all the tools, all the tricks. He's got tactics for days. And that is the difference between a driver that started in 2001, one of the great all-time drivers, and someone who we have to remember. It's only his second season in Formula One. He's still learning racecraft like that. Not the best result for him, but a massive learning experience.
But he turned 23 a couple of days ago.
Yeah, it's
He's
fantastic.
He's still got so much time ahead of him.
You know, that's 19 years to go if he goes to Fernando.
Well, he's about as old as Fernando's done years in Formula One. So, yeah, there we go. Sam Collins is going to now take a little look at those incidents between Piastri and Russell, because as Oscar intimated in that interview, little bit of wheel banging, Sam.
Yeah, I'm having a look at this back, Will, and I'm just going to go back to the first footage. I was going to start with the onboard cameras, but having heard that interview, I just want to take a little bit of a closer look. You've got Oscar Piastri in the McLaren in front, George Russell behind. Let's just take another look at what happened, because George Russell is trying to move up the field, and the only place he's going up to is race control at 1:15 to have a word whether he forced the McLaren driver off track. Now, here we see it all looks okay, but as the two cars approach 130R, a really normal overtaking spot around Suzuka, Russell's having a look to see if he can catch up, go round the outside. Perhaps Piastri has gone defensive here, trying to get into the apex first. So we'll see how they play this one out. And I'm going to try to play it forward slightly slower than we've seen it and just run it forwards to see, because I want to see if there is this puff of smoke from Piastri's car. I don't see a little lock-up. Piastri's moving left as he's able to do. Russell sees the opportunity, tries to come down the inside here. Now, look, the door is wide open for the Mercedes driver, but he's got to get to the apex and still leave room for the McLaren to go round the outside of the corner. Piastri can't shut the door at this point on the Mercedes driver, but let's see what happens. Piastri stays high, looks towards the apex. Now, at this point, there is racing room, but Piastri needs to keep his line fairly wide to make sure that there is space for Russell. They are fully alongside each other at this point. And then we come in and, oh, little bit of contact. Did Russell leave enough racing room? Let's have a look back. Just wind that back slightly. He's pulling wide on the exit of this corner. And look, there is a bit of space to come up to the apex for Piastri here. But I think Russell is now beginning to run the Australian driver a little bit out of room. A little bit of contact between the two. Piastri sees the danger and decides to exit stage left and holds the position as a result of that. The FIA are going to be taking a look at this and saying, did Russell force Piastri off track? Well, I'm not sure he really did. I think that Russell might get away with this, but it could be put down as a straight racing incident. But as they got to the apex, obviously Piastri held the position, did it off track, but I think that was okay. There wasn't any room for the McLaren. And so I wonder, it's going to be an interesting one, what the FIA come up with, and we'll probably hear about that in about an hour's time, I'd say, Will.
I think that's a fairly easy one, isn't it, Alex?
I'd love to disagree, make some interesting telly, but I think that's a racing incident, and I think it's...
All right, no, it's a slam dunk then. He should definitely... yeah, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, really, isn't it?
I think Oscar's bailed out. He's seen the danger there. He's bailed out. Russell's not forced him. I don't think Russell's forced him off the road there, but I've been wrong about stewards' decisions in the past.
Yeah, I mean, there's well over at least half or 3/4 a car there. I mean, I know you have to leave a whole car, but...
Yeah. I think they'll shrug and they'll move on.
Yeah, you can't really argue that one, can you? Good day for Lando Norris or a bad day for Lando Norris? Expecting, hoping for a podium. In the end, though, the might, the power of those Ferraris, we thought that race pace that they'd shown through their long runs earlier in the weekend might have been on slightly lower fuel. As it turned out, great race pace, great race management from both those guys. Will Lando be disappointed at the end of today's Grand Prix?
No, because I think he knew it was coming. I think he knew it was coming from the very start of the weekend when we were asking him questions and he was saying, well, look, Ferrari have made a big step over the winter. Yes, we were great here when we were here in September. Doesn't feel that long ago. I think McLaren were aware that Ferrari had the edge. I think what he'll be disappointed about is being leapfrogged by Charles Leclerc.
The good news is I've heard Lawrence Barretto's just got Lando Norris in front of him, so we can throw there now.
Okay, and Lando, P5 today, I got it right for today. How did the car feel out there? It looked like you had the pace early on in that phase. I thought you were fighting for P2 and it kind of fell away. Maybe I was
No, never had the pace today, so it was tough. Just trying to cover a lot of things and trying to stay ahead, but on a track like this, it's the opposite thing of what you want to do. So I think, let's say, a good day. Feels doesn't look nice, starting third, finishing fifth. So you shouldn't be happy with it, but I think we didn't have any more pace today. Clearly the Ferraris were another level to us, so did what we could, but just not enough. So tough car, felt pretty tricky today, especially with the harder conditions. Like as soon as it cooled down, the pace came back to us a little bit, but in the harder conditions at the start, in the middle, we were way too far off. So let's say a little bit as expected. We hoped for a little bit more, but that's what we had.
Generally, compared to last year, and you hinted at this yesterday, it does look like you've closed the gap at least versus last year, the performance of the car. It feels like you
I finished 17 seconds behind the win last year, and now I'm 29, so...
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Okay, fair enough. You got me there. Thanks.
Facts are facts.
Thanks, Lando.
Poor Lawrence. Poor Lando.
Yeah.
17 to 29. Yeah, that's a big difference. A big difference. Talking about a big difference, we talked a little bit about Lance Stroll, not a lot, not happy with the car today. Fernando seemingly overjoyed with the car this weekend, and he only had one practice session to get up to speed with the upgrades.
Just suiting him straight out of the box, very encouraging, and encouraging that they can move that car forward with the race pace, because it's been a very strange situation where it's looked phenomenal, and he looks great. Usually on a Friday, he looks phenomenal when he does his quali sim. Backed it up, best start here for a decade at the start of the day, and then backed it up again with strong racecraft. Punchy at the start to put him on the soft. They'll be happy. Fernando will be happy with that.
With the P6.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We roll then to talk about Ferrari. Charles Leclerc P4, Carlos Sainz P3. When you were up in the comm box, at what point did you and Jolien twig, you know what, he's one stopping?
When the lap times were so consistent and so effective, when he took it beyond lap 20, you're like, okay, this is decent, because you're behind the scenes in the commentary box, you start looking at the lap times at that point because you're expecting the drop-off. It didn't materialise. That was a superb stint and built his race. Phenomenal.
Nobody thought that was doable. Nobody thought that was possible. We all thought it was a minimum 2 stops today, maybe a 3 stop, literally on the fly, making the decisions as you go out there, because we hadn't had these conditions. The tyres all look pretty similar in terms of wear. Was that just supreme racecraft from Charles mixed with a bit of a gamble from Ferrari?
I think it's exactly that. I think that they always have you've always got the ability to bail out and try and charge late on.
Yeah, fair. Yeah.
So you've got the chance to find out. And they would have known pretty early on, yes, this is working. This is working. He's pulling it off. Wouldn't it be his most thrilling Grand Prix behind the wheel? Because this is a circuit that they love attacking, and he would have had to manage and manage and manage. Yep. But he got the job done, improved from 8th on the grid. Solid work.
And finds himself just 4 points ahead of Carlos Sainz, who's missed a race this year, which shows us the job Carlos is doing.
We've been talking about it. Look at the drivers who are performing incredibly well. Yuki Tsunoda knows his future is not certain. Sergio Perez knows his contract runs out at the end of the year. Suddenly getting on with that Red Bull wonderfully. And Carlos Sainz, shown the door, had to go through launching the car with the Ferrari blazer on, had to answer all these questions, and has channeled it wonderfully into the form of his life. Nothing like a little bit of motivation.
As we were saying in the pre-race show, every weekend, it's another phenomenal line in that CV that you're taking to potential team bosses and saying, that's me.
He's doing the deal right about now, isn't he? He's got the win. He's on the podium every single race that he's started this year.
It was Toto who said earlier in the weekend he thinks that a major driver move will be signed within the next couple of weeks. I would hazard a guess it's going to be Carlos.
I think you're right.
I'm with you. Let's take a look at the championship standings, the Drivers' Championship standings after the race, because this is entirely what we're talking about. 4 races into the season. Max Verstappen only 77 plays 64, so that's 13 points. It's not as vast as it would be, but of course Max had that DNF last time out in Australia. Then this is the interesting one. 50. Oh, it's gone. It's gone. Can you wind it back? You can't, can you? This graphic only goes one way.
Checo up to second place in the championship.
Checo up to second place.
Charles in third.
Nice.
But we've got Carlos closing in.
Oh, they've wound it back. Brilliant. There we go. Charles on 59 and Carlos on 55. It's gone.
Lando Norris. Oscar Piastri. You've been doing this a long time, mate. What's happened?
Luckily, I'll tell you what's happened. Ariana Bravo's found Fred Vasseur.
Fred, congratulations on the podium there. I would say well-executed day for the team. How do you look with that?
Yeah, I think it was a good Sunday for the team, that tire management was under control, the pace was there, the strategy went well, the pit stop went well also. If we missed something this weekend, I think it's more yesterday that we have to do a better job in quali, but today it went very well.
Can we just reflect on how impressed you are with each driver? Charles pulling off that one stop, tire management was incredible, and driver of the day, and then Carlos as well on the podium again. He's doing well, isn't he?
They did a very good job. That we knew that the strategy and the race will be a bit different for Charles starting from P8, that he will have to manage the track position, and it's why we decided quite early into the race to go for this one. It went very well, and it worked very well because he was able to manage the tires in a proper way. It was perhaps not the optimum on clean air, but it was the optimum for him. And that we can be pleased with what they did, even what they did on track, because they were not on the same strategy. They didn't lose a single tenth on second between them, and it was a perfect job.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Enjoy.
Lovely to hear from Fred there with Ariana. Right, we've talked about Carlos, a brilliant run from him today, as we are expecting this season. Checo and Max. It's another 1-2 for Red Bull Racing, as we've come to expect over recent years, but it felt like Checo made a real step forward this weekend, mate.
Yeah, all the way through, every session. Just a confidence and an understanding. We keep coming back to that word of understanding. If you roll out of the box at the start of practice and it's not working, you start chasing it. You chase it in the wrong direction, 2 tenths turns into 4 tenths, turns into half a second, turns into the team's shoulders on your side of the garage going down. He's got them up. He's got them up. He's got them motivated. He's incredibly motivated. He wants to stay with the best team in Formula One. And it's really nice to see him back on the front foot after some tough moments last year. It's great to see the Checo that built his chance with this team, with underdog performances, getting mastery out of the tyres and earned his shot, and it's great that it's been a good start to the season for him.
The question marks have existed over whether Checo would have a continued relationship with Red Bull for such a long time, and every time we discuss it, we get grief about it. But I've got to say, standing here right now, I've never in the last 18 months remembered a time where I thought there was less of a question mark over Checo continuing at the team, because he's just doing everything right.
Bringing home the 1-2s.
Yeah.
Bringing home the 1-2s all the while. Said in Australia, I don't think Max would have won that race. That was an outlier for them. So, doing the job. If you're constructor champions of the world and your driver keeps coming home in first and your other driver keeps coming home in second, why would you rock the boat?
You wouldn't. Makes no sense. Makes no sense. Right, time to hear from your top three. Carlos Sainz, Sergio Perez, and back on the top step of the podium, it's Max Verstappen.
Hey, Carlos, heck of a fight back, and great to see you back on the podium. You must be delighted with the result and the way that you performed and the car performed here today.
Yes, it was a very strong race. It wasn't easy, very strategic, a lot of things going on with tire degradation. 1 stops, 2 stops, whether to use the new, they used medium at the restart. Anyway, I think we nailed a very good race with some good overtakes at the end. At one point in the race, I thought it was not going to happen, the podium, but then in the last stint, when I put the new hard, the tire gave me a really good feeling and I could push on it and get back to it.
It's another very different track where this Ferraris look strong. Does that bode well for the next couple of hours? Do you keep going to very different tracks?
Stronger, yes. Still not at the level of Red Bull. I think Red Bull have the upper hand in this kind of track. But encouraged to see that even we had low deck in a high deck track, and we could control the tires, and we could put ourselves in a position to do some strategic variability compared to you. So encouraged by that.
Okay, so congrats. Third, second place of the season. You've got great consistency here, but how tough was that race today to just try and get the most out of the car?
Yeah, it was quite difficult. The first stint especially, I think we were out of balance a bit. We couldn't have the life we wanted, and that compromised our race with Lando pitting so early. We were then out of sync, and meant that our second stint on the medium we had to push and come through the traffic, and it was just getting harder and harder for us. So unfortunately, we just didn't get the life out of those mediums. Initially, the hard I think was good, but it was just a little bit out of sync.
It looks like you found a new confidence with this car, that you found a new consistency. Does it feel like that for you after performing at such a great track like this?
Yeah, you see, when we have issues like on the first stint, we are able to solve them through the race and stuff like that. Something we lacked last year. So I think we are in a good track. We are performing at a very nice level, but we just have to keep progressing.
Great stuff. Thanks, Checo.
Thank you.
Hey Max, congratulations on the win. How satisfying is it to have a really complete weekend, really, where you've kind of gone through it after a very difficult, obviously, race in Australia?
Yeah, I mean, of course, we had a little hiccup in Melbourne, but then, of course, it's very nice to come back here and, just basically have a perfect weekend. The car was a bit of a question mark going into the race, but I think we made the right calls before we went into qualifying, because it definitely helped the car also today. And that's why I think I could just push a little bit more, feel a little bit more comfortable with the balance of the car. And basically on every compound, every fuel load, from the start to the end of the race, I just felt good in the car.
Does it feel like the rest of the field, though, is starting to breathe down your necks a little bit more? Does it feel like the gap is closing?
I think it just depends a bit on the track layout. And of course, it also depends on how well you do your job. Every single weekend, it's never 100%. Sometimes it's a bit hit and miss for everyone. And of course, if you miss it on a weekend where you are anyway already maybe not in, let's say the favorite layout of your car, then of course other people can be stronger or can be very close.
Great stuff. Thanks, Max. Thank you.
That is the melee that Max Verstappen has to go through here in Suzuka, trying to get back to his motorhome, signing autographs. The race winner. Alex, it is such a delight to be in Japan, no matter when we arrive here, but this weekend, being here so early in the season. I've never seen Suzuka look so beautiful.
Yeah, I thought that as soon as we went on air. It was like, oh, look at that tree, look at that tree, look at that tree, which is not the finest commentary, but it's just a wonderful occasion. And we've been trying to sum up all weekend long why it is so special. And I think one of the key things is the inventiveness, the enthusiasm. But my favorite thing is that everyone is supported. Every single driver has someone supporting them. And everywhere we go, nowhere is like this.
No, you're absolutely right. It's a non-partisan crowd that cheers for everyone, respects every move, whether it's for last place or first. Of course, they all want Yuki to do well, but they all have their favourites. They always have. It's such a joy to come here.
New names, current names.
Can we do like 3-4 races in Japan a year, please?
Please.
Oh, I'd love that. Would absolutely love that. Next, we are, however, going back to genuinely one of my favourite Grand Prix of the year. I always love visiting China. I can't wait to get back to a circuit which does provide brilliant Grand Prix. And a race that we haven't been to in a good long time. It is, of course, Chinese Grand Prix, Shanghai International Circuit. And it comes your way in 2 weeks' time. Thursday, the 18th of April, your weekend warm-up at 4:30 local time. Then on Friday, just the one practice because it is a sprint weekend. Sprint qualifying 3:30, rolling through onto your sprint Saturday. 11 a.m. for the sprint, qualifying then at 3 p.m. local time, pulling you through to the Formula One Lenovo Chinese Grand Prix, 3 p.m. Sunday, the 21st of April. The first sprint event of the year, Alex. Looking forward to it?
It comes at you thick and fast.
Doesn't it?
It is immediately up to speed. Oh, things not quite right with the rear of the car. Bad luck. We're straight in. Slight tweak to the format for this year. So it's going to be really, really fun to see how that changes the order.
And of course, on a track that we haven't visited in years.
Absolutely. And as you said, some of the races that we've had there, ridiculous overtaking numbers.
I love it. I think it's an absolutely cracking circuit. So yeah, really looking forward to getting back to Shanghai. It has been a wonderful week here in Japan. My thanks to Jack Doohan, my thanks to Alex, Jakes, to all of our guests today, to the crew behind the camera that you don't get to see, and everyone in the UK that makes this production possible. A brilliant week in Japan, signed off by Max Verstappen, returning to winning ways. Next up, it's a sprint weekend in China. We hope you will join us here on F1 TV. Until then, from all of us here, thank you for watching. A very warm goodbye.
This is the Chinese Grand Prix. It's good to be back. Shanghai